In this video, we are going to learn how to identify bounded context boundaries for each microservices. So, how can we identify bounded context? In order to identify bounded context, we should use domain-driven design. And in domain-driven design, we should use context mapping pattern for identification of bounded context. With context mapping pattern, we can identify the whole bounded contexts in the application and with their logical boundaries. So the answer is context mapping, and the context map is a way to define logical boundaries between domains. So we can check the image for example identification. First of all, we should identify the bounded context by talking to the domain experts and using some clues. Once we have defined the bounded context, we shouldn't think that they are immutable anymore. We will need to make changes to the boundaries you have drawn and reshape your bounded context by talking to the domain experts and consider refactoring with the changing conditions. So when we designing a large complex application, it is crucial to discuss with domain experts in order to define domains and subdomains and evaluate bounded context with the domain experts that will help you identify microservices. For example, you can see the image on the slide. There are several bounded contexts like customers, orders, payments, and shopping cart. And in the bounded context, we have subdomains. For example, under customer, we have customer address. Under order, we have items ordered. Under shopping cart, we have users, cart items, and so on. As we said that there is a subdomains inside of the bounded context, that our subdomains are representing same data but naming differently due to domain expert areas. That means we should discuss several domain experts for their expertise areas. So for example, in customer domain name should be the customer, in customers and orders is the same name, but maybe in the shopping cart they could be naming the users and so on. This is according to domain expert, these names could be changed and we should identify and understand clearly with talking domain experts. Now the question comes, which is the actual question for us: a bounded context equal a microservices. We can say that there is no right answer to this question under all circumstances. A microservices can represent a bounded context or part of it. In other words, a bounded context can create more than one microservices. This is entirely a decision to be made based on the microservices needs for scalability and independently. While a bounded context defines the boundaries of a domain, a microservices determines the technical and organizational boundaries as the same way with the bounded context domains. But nevertheless, this approach can be used when defining microservices from bounded context. Because this is similar to definition of a microservices, it is autonomous and responsible by certain domain capability. So this is why context mapping and the bounded context pattern are good approaches when identifying microservices. We will also follow these patterns when decomposing our microservices.